Drake just took the biggest L of 2024. Fresh off a defeat in his battle with Kendrick Lamar, Drake's reputation took another blow with the recent leak of reference tracks for his songs Jumbotron Shit Poppin', Ratchet Happy Birthday, and Mobties, the latter of which being originally performed by rapper Vory. Now let's pause, cause this wasn't just a demo hook and chorus, it was the whole song laid out for Drake to copy and paste. And not only was that a disappointing realization for Drake fanboys, but it's just straight up bad news for Drake. See, Mobties was a pivotal track for Drake in 2018 and considered one of his few classics in recent years. Released on his album Scorpion, it dropped during a period when his entire image and reputation was on the line. Assumed to be a response to Pusha T after his diss track, The Story of Addison, which had exposed Drake's long-hidden son, leaving both Drake and his son vulnerable to public scrutiny and embarrassment. The reveal was actually so shocking at the time that half of the world didn't even believe it at first. But it turned out to in fact be true, and it opened Pandora's box into more details and secrets of Drake's personal life, particularly regarding his son Adonis and his baby mama. It was probably one of the biggest mic drop moments on a diss track in hip-hop history at the time. Mind you, at this time, Drake was largely perceived to be a soft rapper and a lover boy putting on a tough guy facade. So just the idea of Drake having a secret kid and being a deadbeat father was very polarizing. But it was too big of a secret for Drake not to respond. At the same time, if Drake was going to respond, it had to be with some heat, or else he was cooked. It was a career-defining moment. And this time, it was personal. So when he came out with Mobties, it was arguably one of Drake's most important songs ever, and he didn't disappoint. Mobties was like Drake on Goblin mode, and honestly, it was a side of him we'd never seen before. And given the stakes, no one questioned it. But the Mobties leak changes everything. Not only does it expose Drizzy for committing a cardinal sin in rap, that is, using ghostwriters. It suggested a pattern of inauthenticity, and a huge part of rap and your success as a rap artist is the public's belief in your authenticity. If one of Drake's most important songs was ghostwritten, how can we say what's real and what's fake anymore? Can we trust anything Drake says in his music, or even his most personal moments, supposedly reflections of his soul and inner thoughts and feelings, simply karaoke lyrics? If a song like Mobties wasn't authentic, what else has he faked? Now, it's not uncommon for rappers to get inspiration for a song or be given a hook to write verses to. But this leaked reference track of Mobties by Vory reveals that Drake's version is almost an identical copycat. Same flow, same cadence, word for word, bar for bar. At this point, it ain't even Drake's song no more. Nah, that's Vory shit. Rappers are viewed as storytellers, weaving narratives about their actual lives and experiences through intricate wordplay and rhymes. And this wasn't Drake's first bout with reference track leaks. After Drake's beef with Meek Mill in summer 2015, in a diss following the fallout, Meek name-dropped Quentin Miller and cited him as being one of Drake's biggest ghostwriters. And it wasn't an empty accusation either. It was later found out that Quentin was behind the flow, melody, and lyrics of some of Drake's most recognizable songs, including Started From the Bottom, Rico, 10 Bands, and Know Yourself. Now, at the time, it didn't cause much of a stir, mostly because it was a case of right message, wrong messenger. During this time, Meek had a damaged reputation after losing his feud with Drake, and embarrassingly so. So suggesting Drake doesn't write his own raps almost seemed like a desperate reach. And at the time, even listening to Meek's music wasn't really cool anymore. So not only did people not care, but they weren't really listening to begin with. While the Jumbotron leak was concerning, it wasn't a deal breaker. A song designed to be a mindless banger didn't require the same level of authenticity as Mobties. But Mobties was different. It was a song that supposedly showcased his grit and lyricism. Now with the ghostwriter exposed, that window was slammed shut. Drake wasn't just borrowing words, he was outsourcing his entire thought process. And while Drake has been accused of being a culture vulture over the years, stealing sounds, rhythms, and accents from around the world as his own and commercializing them for his own profit and popularity, fans let him slide because we largely believed he was at least writing his own songs. But to find out otherwise goes against the very heart of hip-hop. Hip-hop has always been a genre that values authenticity, lyrical prowess, and storytelling. If an artist like Drake, one of the genre's biggest stars, could rely so heavily on ghostwriting, then are other rappers employing similar tactics? Did Drake's success represent a broader shift within the genre, a move away from authenticity and towards carefully crafted personas? It has often been joked that being a rapper is Drake's biggest acting role. Another take could be that the new generation of rappers are just the new wave of pop stars. They can be manufactured, planted, given hits, and branded with an image to satisfy its audience, which is the case with any other genre in music. So this principle really isn't anything new. And there are people out there who really don't care who writes the song, they just want something good they enjoy listening to. And perhaps the public wouldn't be so critical of him if he didn't go out of his way to regularly proclaim himself as one of the greatest writers and lyricists of all time. See, there's a fundamental difference between occasional collaborations and a chronic reliance on ghostwriting. Now, I will say, and I think we all can agree, that Drake can obviously write on his own, but somewhere along the line, he began commodifying his songs and albums. And with the back-to-back drops of Certified Lover Boy, Honestly Nevermind, Her Loss, and For All the Dogs, half of which have over 20 song track lists. It's not hard to believe that to produce that amount of album-worthy content in such a short time, there's really no other explanation than the presence of ghostwriters. Drake has assembled an OVO production line in order to push out enough songs to remain relevant. Remember, Drake has been in the game since 2006. He has already had a legendary run, but I think he knows that if he takes a multi-year break like some of his counterparts, he may become irrelevant and fall off. And he's not naive enough to think it can't happen to him. I mean, if it can happen to a true generational talent like Wayne, it can certainly happen to Drake. But even if fans give him grace and decide to turn a blind eye, there's no denying that the mobties leak has left a permanent mark on Drake's legacy. And after the straight-up brutal KO he just took from Kendrick, with damning receipts emerging on the daily and Drake's attempts to expose Kendrick having backfired, and the surfacing of multiple incriminating blind items and allegations, and the world officially referring to him as BBL Drake, yeah, Drizzy is pretty cooked. He's cooked well done. He was left with no choice but to wave the white flag, left with the image he so meticulously cultivated shattered. So what do you think? Can Drake recover from these L's? Or is he finished? And if he does come out on the other side unscathed, what does that say about the state of hip-hop as a whole?